Hello, YouTube. I'm in the dark. You don't even see me because I just turned the lights off.
You can see that I still have the decorations that I wrote on the window from Evelyn's birthday party.
Oh,
It's party.
that's party.
Party.
Do you guys do some sort of like clap to kind of like sync up?
Yes.
Okay, the audio. Okay.
You understood what we do.
Yeah.
Everyone
You
else
have to do that.
Like, what the hell are you talking about?
No, they're just like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And then sometimes they're confused if like they're supposed to clap or not.
Yeah, sometimes we don't get clappers.
So all three of us are clapping. Is it delayed at all, or just it doesn't matter?
When it gets close enough. But it should all count us down to record like the audio.
Okay.
And then Sierra will count us down to clap.
Okay. So I need to record audio on my side as well.
You don't have to record yet the audio.
Okay.
We'll do it at the same time, so it's like the same length.
Okay.
That's what she means. Okay. Can you see my face? Maybe if I sit over here.
Yeah, I can see you.
See most of it.
Most of it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh man, I'm so excited for this. So excited. Okay. Sorry, we're just getting off of a business call for our mastermind that we're in. So we're like getting into it ran over.
Actually good. It was right before because it like jazzed me up.
Oh, good. Nice. Yeah, because you're a little sleepy.
I took a nap beforehand.
That was not okay. Testing.
To my hair.
I really appreciate that you're doing this, Heather. I know you got a lot going on too.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I've got the craziest thing is I got a wedding that I'm supposed to be in this weekend, so I have to make some alterations to my outfit. So I'm going to be like sewing furiously tonight and tomorrow. But
are you like really good seamstress?
I wouldn't say really good, but like I can hem some stuff. I'm going to attempt to like do some tricky stuff to kind of pull up the sleeves. Like I'm not going to be like cutting into the shoulder and like pulling it in here because that's like especially with the lining and all that, it's like way beyond my skill set. But just nobody's going to notice. It's just going to be a little subtle kind of stitches there. So rather than doing an entire seam, so it shouldn't be too bad. But also I can't fit in the pants. I bought them like 6 months ago, and they were already a little tight to begin with. So apparently I put on a little extra fluff around the midsection. So I'm like, so I'm gonna sew in like a like extra button to kind of like make sure it doesn't.
That's fun.
Oh well.
Amazing.
Adulting.
Amazing. Yeah.
Don't put that in the podcast.
Well, it's gonna be on YouTube, so.
Yay.
It's all good.
You already laid it out.
Can you hear Maxie super loud barking right now? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't. They keep barking, and I can't tell if he's home or not. He might not be. I don't know. So it may get louder. It may not.
That's
okay.
Fine.
Okay. So you want to record?
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Record.
Okay. We do our official clap. Wait, is yours not working?
Yeah, it's working. I'm good.
Mine was the wrong mic.
Your face.
It did the wrong mic.
Stop recording. Stop recording.
Sorry, I didn't check it out.
Give me 1 second, because I have to close the. I have to create a new clip.
I didn't. So weird.
All right, I should be good. Whenever you guys are ready.
Okay. Uno, dos, tres, record.
Okay. Now for the official clap. Are you okay?
Yep.
Are you alive? Okay,
we're live.
1, 2, 3. Oh, you guys were on it. The clap's gonna line up perfectionally.
Exactly.
There you go. Okay. Do you want to start it or do you want me to?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the In Raw Life podcast. We are so glad you're here, and I'm especially excited for today's episode because today we are interviewing my oldest friend. And I don't mean that she's like 107. I mean that of all the friends in my entire life, Heather and I go back the furthest. She's one of the closest friends to me, and I just love and adore her. And I'm so excited that you guys get to meet her. So say hello to my beautiful bestie, Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi. Oh, I love you, Sierra. That was very sweet. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm like, since you like how Jess said, we just got jazzed right before this interview, which we are, and then I don't know, seeing your face just really lit me up. So
Yes, it's
I'm
always
glad that you took
a
some
good
time for us.
seeing you.
Yes. So aside from the fact that Heather and I go super way back, I asked Heather if she would do an interview with us because Heather grew up with, I don't even know how to how to explain it. She has some parents who were not very supportive of her as she discovered herself. I don't even know how to put it in words that can even explain the level of difficulty of your life. But so why don't you just tell us your story for us?
Okay, yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the most challenging periods of my life was around the period of time that I came out to my parents. It was particularly challenging because at the time I was still trying to like figure out myself, and I wasn't even really actually ready to tell them. It just kind of happened through unfortunate circumstances. And so it just at the moment really felt like it was, I don't know, kind of a whirlwind, and it was challenging enough. Just obviously coming out is a very scary thing for most people that identify as gay, just because it's an emotional moment. You don't really know what their reaction is going to be, and then just like but before that, like growing up being gay and being closeted and not really understanding kind of what was going on, like I've known since, I don't know, probably second or third grade, but I didn't really have a word for it. Like I didn't know what, I didn't even know it was a thing. I had kind of like little crushes on my teachers, but it was kind of like innocent, never really thought anything of it. And then as I got older, like pretty much in middle school was kind of the time frame I started realizing, oh, I'm very different from most of my other friends that are girls that have been talking about, talking about boys and crushes on boys. And so I really didn't feel like I identified with that. And I didn't really like share that with anybody, just more out of like, you want to fit in when you're younger. You don't really want to like kind of put yourself out there. So I just kind of like went along with it and was like, yeah, the Tommy, so cute. But then like, deep down I knew that like that all just felt like fake to me. And then kind of as I got older, especially in high school, I started seeing some representation of lesbian couples, either in movies or whatever. And so it was like, oh, that's actually, I remember the first thing I saw in popular media that kind of like made it a realization was the you guys remember that group Tattoo? It was like these two Russian girls that did that song, like all the things she said, like their music video. I remember seeing it on MTV, and I was just like, oh, they're like me. And that kind of was like the moment of realization for me. And because it was very isolating that whole time growing up. It was just like I didn't really have anybody that I could talk to about it, or like somebody that I knew that was going through the same thing. So the whole time it felt just very super isolating. And then in high school there was like a really close friend of mine that I had feelings for, and she was the first person I came out to, and that was like a very obviously terrifying thing. And she, bless her heart, she was like, I still love you, but like I'm straight. This doesn't change the way I like feel about you. Like you're my best, you're a good friend of mine. I don't like. She was cool about it. And then of course I was like, please don't tell anybody. because I haven't quite like worked out a lot of stuff, and I just like I don't want this kind of spreading through the school. I'm just like I'm not ready for it. So she agreed. Fast forward to like right before graduation. I want to say it was my senior year, probably like maybe 3 or 4 months. Yeah, maybe it was like more like 2 months before graduation. I get a phone call from my friend who was kind of in a panic, and I was like, what's going on? She's like, she's kind of starting to cry, and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I'm so sorry. I told someone, and that person told so-and-so, and obviously I'm not naming names because I don't want to like, have anybody make associations and stuff like in real life. So I was just trying to like, keep it together and be like, okay, well, who did you tell? Like, what's the reaction? Why are you so upset about it right now? And she's like, well, the person that found out secondhand is just like basically disgusted by it and wants to basically tell your parents. She wants to out you to your parents. She was saying she was going to either call or write a letter and give it to my parents. So in that moment, I was like kind of in a panic and trying to, obviously I was upset and hurt that she told people, but then I was just kind of like freaking out and trying to figure out how to fix this basically. And I guess, I was in my bedroom. So, the house in St. Pete, it's that large room, and the family room is right off of that. There's like a little bit of space between because it's like you go through the laundry room. But I guess my mom she couldn't hear the words I was saying, but she kind of picked up on some of the tone, and she could tell that I was like upset about something and kind of rattled. And growing up, I was such a chill person. I never really had drama or got, like it's just, I guess, was odd enough for my mom to kind of like be concerned. So she comes into my room after the call and she's like, Heather, what's going on? Like, why, it sounds like you're really upset. And I'm concerned. I want you to, talk to me about it, which, is nice, but I was just like not in a place to kind of like discuss this with her. So I'm just like, it's fine, Mom. Like, I just like, I didn't really know what to say, but I was just like trying to dismiss it and like change the subject or move on from it. And the more I kept doing that, the more that she kept getting frustrated that I wasn't talking to her about it. And then it got to the point where it was like, no, you don't want to know. Trust me, Mom. Like, just, and then the more I kept withholding information, the more kind of like almost like outraged she started getting. And she's like, Heather, I need you to tell me what's going on. Like, I'm very concerned. Like, are you pregnant? And she just starts rattling things off, right? Because she's just like making assumptions. And I'm just like, no, Mom. Like, at this point I'm getting frustrated because I'm still in a panic. Like, my heart is racing, like endorphins are going. I'm just like trying to get my mind together. And so she's now at this point kind of like yelling at me, and I'm just like, all right, fine. You want to know? I'm gay. And I just like said it, and it was like not the scenario that I had envisioned coming out, basically like saying those words to my mom, but it just kind of like happened. And she kind of just stopped dead in her tracks, and you could, she was obviously very shaken by that, and, just started basically yelling at me and being like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. And, that kind of went back and forth for a while. And it was this just, I get it. It was a lot of information to kind of throw at her all at once. And like, everything was kind of heightened. All of our emotions were heightened at that point. And so there was a lot of kind of yelling back and forth, and, it turned into a very ugly scenario where like essentially there's discussion of like essentially kicking me out of the house, and a lot of talk of like disowning me and I'm not your daughter, or you're not my daughter kind of thing. And so all I remember is just like running out of the house because she was actually physically chasing me, which was kind of a strange phenomenon, because you're not really used to like a parent like literally running after you trying to like grab you. So I just remember running through the house trying to find my like car keys and my cell phone, And I guess as I was kind of running around and like trying to avoid her, I couldn't find the car keys, but I just like grabbed my cell phone and just ran out of the house and like ran a couple doors down. And just during this period of time, there was, it was like 2004. So it was, there was like a series of hurricanes that were coming through that summer. I want to say it was like maybe, no, not Andrew, Charlie or something like that. There was like 3 of them kind of like back to back. So meanwhile, there's hurricane happening, and I like am running in the rain and just like crawl up under this boat that like our neighbors had on the side of their house, and it was on a trailer, so I just like crawled up under there. And then of course I call my friend who I had feelings for, and of course I'm crying, and you know, she's like, what's going on? And I was like, oh my gosh, I told my parents. And she's like, what, why? And I was like, well, I didn't mean to, it just happened. And so, you know, we're kind of talking, she's trying to calm me down and tell me everything's going to be okay. And I was just like, at that time, it did not feel like it was going to be okay. And so she was like, well, if you need a place to stay, you can crash with me. You know, she talked to her dad like in that moment, and he was like, that's fine. And so I just remember being on the phone, and then I hear my brother's voice like off in the distance, and he's calling out for me. And I never really was super close to my brother. Like, you know, we were siblings that kind of fought a lot because he was very rambunctious, and I think that moment like really changed kind of our relationship. But he comes out and is calling for me, and then I like kind of wave him under the boat, and he crawls up under there with me, and is just like puts his arm around me, and he's like telling me it's gonna be okay, and he's like, I love you no matter what. And I was just like, yeah, it was just like a really emotional moment for me. And so he just kind of like talked to me and was just like trying to comfort me basically. And I remember seeing my dad get in the car and like drive down the street kind of fine. I guess he thought I just like went running down the street. So I guess he was driving around trying to find me. And then my brother was like, you should come inside. I think he's like, Mom's kind of calmed down a little bit. So, you know, like you should come back inside because it's a hurricane. This is not really safe. So we went back inside. I mean, at that point, I remember there being like piles of clothes. I guess my mom had gone and pulled all my clothes out of my drawers and just had like a garbage bag there that like basically implying like get your stuff kind of thing. I came back in, I didn't see her. I actually didn't know where she went, but then eventually my dad came back and I had a discussion with him. I guess he overheard stuff, or maybe he talked to my mom, and he like, I'm trying to remember the like words that he used, but it was something along the lines of like, he was very neutral and just kind of like, you know, well, I love you no matter what. And so when he said that, I was like, okay, like it felt like I had at least my dad there as like an ally. But then from that point forward, like even through my adult life, he was pretty neutral, and then in some ways later started kind of going in the opposite direction, and would later say like kind of just like you know, hurtful things, but also coming from a place of like misguided, I guess. So I guess I went and stayed with my friend for like a night or two, and I guess my dad convinced my mom to let me come back to the house and stay the night, or not stay the night, but stay until I go off to college. So then I had to basically stay there those like couple months that in between the time that I graduated high school and then went off to school to college. And that little period of time was really rough. My mom was having a really hard time just trying to like take it all in, and she would do like weird things that like she thought was being helpful in a kind of weird way. Like, for example, she would call me out and be like, hey, Heather, come watch this movie with me. And so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe she's trying to like, you know, like build our relationship back up. And sets it down on the couch, and she turned on this like movie, and it ended up being the movie about Matthew Shepard, who was the gay teenager back, I want to say it was like in the 90s. who was brutally murdered by like a group of guys that like dragged him out into the country and literally beat him to death and like tied him up to a fence. And I was just like, wow, like, and so, you know, her thing is like, oh, well, you know, I don't want this to end up like, I don't want you to end up like this, you know, kind of thing. So she would always make it sound like it was coming from a place of concern, and like, you know, she had these ideas of how my life was going to be, and, you know, she was having a hard time like figuring out how that was going to fit in with me being gay. So, you know, I do understand that it was also difficult for my parents. And, you know, it certainly wasn't easy for me. But you know, I went off to college. From that point on, when I was in college, I decided to just be out to everybody. Any new person I met, I was going to be out. And so that, you know, that kind of really changed the course of my life, because I'm not really sure if I hadn't come out to my parents, I don't know how long it would have taken me, right? Like I could have gone all through college and just, who knows, right? I feel like that really kind of allowed me the ability to kind of like discover myself, especially in college. That's a great time to obviously discover yourself. So yeah, I mean, with all that said, like, even now, I still have a pretty fraught relationship with my parents, all the way through my, like, you know, I don't know, ever since I graduated from high school to now, there's been like moments of really rough periods where like some kind of inconsiderate things have been said, or like things that just, I don't know, just kind of are just flat out hurtful. And over time, I kept trying to like fix it. Like, you know, we'd go along, like my mom would say something really terrible, and then I would be like defensive or reactionary to it. We get in a big fight, and it was always about me being gay. It was always that, you know, it was like the elephant in the room. I always tried to not talk about it, but my mom couldn't help herself, and she would always want to like have some sort of discussion around it. Like, for example, after I finished high school, I had to move back in, or not high school, sorry, college. I had to move back in with them for a couple months while I was looking for my first job. And my mom sat me down and was like, just wanted to talk about the fact that like me being gay is, you know, really hard on her. And she had this whole idea that I was going to be, you know, that I was going to marry a man and have kids, and she'd be able to have grandkids. And I'm like, Mom, just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I can't have children. And I think it didn't really occur to her, and she kind of like was taken aback by it, and then became really like, she just like snapped back and said, Heather, if you ever have kids with another woman, I would never accept those kids into my life. And I was just like, wow. I was like, really sorry you feel that way. Like, that is, and at that point, you know, I was like 20, 21, maybe 22. Kids, that was like the farthest thing from my mind at that point. But like, you know, I had hopes of, you know, there was this kind of like vague hope that I would be able to have kids, but I never really thought much of a future for me. Like, I was always kind of in the present moment, and not really ever, like, I just assumed I was never going to find a partner, because growing up, most of the time I didn't really know a lot of other gay people. And still, even at that point, I maybe only knew one, or maybe a couple in college. But it just didn't really occur to me. And so when I said that, and then she mentioned that she would never accept, if I ever had kids with another woman, she would never accept them in her life. That, like, even saying it now with my son being here now is just like really upsetting. Haven't, you know, when I brought it up to her years later, she doesn't remember saying it, which, you know, is I guess convenient for her. But you know, still to this day, I'm like, have issues with it and trying to figure out how, like, what does that mean, right? Like, I mean, I guess over the years, I mean, I haven't really talked to my parents, or haven't had like a really like I don't even want to say good relationship because I don't think we've ever had a good relationship since I've come out. But we went like a 4.5 year period where we didn't talk at all. Because I kind of set some boundaries for myself, and I said, this was like the third time that my mom said that she's disowning me, and like for some fight or whatever it was. It could be any given thing, but typically it was around being gay. And so that third time I was like, that's it, Mom. Like, this is the last time you get to tell me that I'm no longer your daughter and that you want me to lose your number and your address and you don't ever want to talk to me again. Like, I'm taking you up on that. Because I was always the one to reach back out. Maybe we'd go a couple months without talking, and then I would try to like fix things, and the whole cycle would start over again. So, a couple like 4.5 years ago, I made that decision, and a lot of it was just to kind of like help my mental health, because going through that whole process of like hoping that our relationship is going to get better, and then it doesn't, and then it gets really bad. I just was having a hard time like going through that cycle over and over again. So, it was actually okay for me. I mean, it was rough. I was going through a lot of therapy over the last couple of years. And then it started getting really hard when we started deciding that we wanted to have a kid. So it just felt like there was this part of my life that's missing out. Like there's part of me that's like, I have this vision, just like my mom had a vision of what my life would be. I have a vision of what I would like my relationship with my parents to be and their relationship with their grandkid. But I'm not going to like trick myself into thinking that relationship can be there and be healthy. I always told myself I'm not going to be the one to reach out. If they do, I would entertain discussion with them. And that has since happened. In December, my dad caught COVID, and I found out through my aunt and my brother. So I made the decision to reach out to him to check up on him because I would feel terrible. He was in the hospital, so it was like really bad. So I reached out to him, and we had some dialogue back and forth that was productive. And then maybe a couple weeks later, my mom reached out, and so we've had some it's like small talk, but that's usually how it starts back up every single time. They haven't really made any mention of wanting to come and meet James. I would, obviously I'm open to that, but I have some hesitation around that because I worry that my mom would say some toxic things around James and, maybe distort his view of his life and, us being his mothers, Kate and I being his mom. So I don't know. I have a lot of reservations on that, but like, I think, knowing the type of person I am, I would be willing to like, start that relationship again and give it another go, essentially. But I'm not going to be the one like reaching out and doing it. She has to kind of be the one to like put the effort into it. So that's kind of where I stand with it now. And it's been a really rough, like, I don't know 15 years or so. So, I feel like it's given me a lot of character. I feel like I've learned a lot about who I am. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly would have liked things to go differently, but, I wouldn't change it because I feel like I am the person I am today because of that experience. So, yeah.
Heather, thank you so much. Man, that is like, I know that story and it's still hard to hear every time because I love you and oh man.
Yeah.
Away a little.
Yeah. And I will say, like, during that period of time, especially right around high school, right after I came out, and it felt like my life was ending because like my parents didn't accept me, and I felt like I didn't have a whole lot else at that point. And I got to a really bad place. yeah, there was a period of time where I was contemplating suicide, and sorry. And like, honestly, my friendship with you and my friend from high school, like, really was like the only thing that kind of pulled me out of that really like dark period of time. So I'm really thankful that like you were there to kind of like encourage me and, you know, just like love me no matter what. And yeah, that really, at that period in time, really meant everything to me. So I love you, Sierra, and thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah, but just, you know, definitely a stronger person now. And, you know, for any young queer kid out there that's trying to figure themselves out, like, just know that it's hard and it feels like everything's caving in, but like it does get past that point, and you'll get to a better place where you'll realize that being your true self is worth it. And they say it gets better. It really does get better, and you'll find yourself and your worth in life, and you're gonna shine. You know, like, you just have to get through that part and love yourself no matter what.
It's funny. Like, I didn't even start. I've like with these episodes in these August episodes that we're doing. Where like I often forget to like explain, like I didn't even set it up that like, okay, this is my friend Heather and she's gay, but it's like, it's such a weird thing to like, yes, you are my friend Heather and you are gay, and that's why we asked you to be on the podcast. But like in my mind, that's like so unnecessary. That's like saying, this is my friend Heather and she's a girl, like, or this is my friend Heather and she's 35. Like, who cares? Nobody, like, it doesn't matter. In my mind, like, the fact that you're gay is just, it exists the same as you have brown hair. Like, why?
Yeah.
I like it. So that was like, I'm glad you took over and told your story, and I guess no introduction was really needed, because like I don't even know how to explain that. Like, you're just Heather. You are a friend that I pretended I was a baby puppy with when I was 9. You know, like,
Yep.
that's all. That's who you are.
Oh, that is normal at 9. That's good.
What's really funny is that like your mom, Sierra, like called it, like she recognized that little baby Heather, because she had mentioned this to me after the fact, like years and years later, that she always suspected that I was gay, but obviously never said anything to anyone, and just kind of was like, oh, I think so. And then when I came out, she was like obviously not surprised by that. So I just think that's really like cute that she was the whole time, like, you know, watching me grow up and being like, oh, you know, I would not be surprised if she comes out as gay later. So yeah, I think that's really cute, because I love your mom and she's awesome.
Yeah, I think when I told her, she was like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, what do you mean you know? She told you before she told me? And my mom's like, no. There's so much for you to learn.
There's literally only one family friend in our circle when my brother came out. She's like, yeah, I called that when he was like 7. We're like, what?
Yeah, apparently it's like obvious to some people. Yeah, that are looking for it, I guess, or that are aware of it.
The closer you are, though, like, to somebody, like I said, like, you're just Heather. Like, it didn't matter to me. You told me you liked Zach Hansen, so I assumed you liked Zach Hansen. Like, that, I don't care. Well,
yeah, well, I mean, Zach Hansen kind of looked like a girl back then.
There you go.
It all makes sense now.
I mean, I definitely idolized him in a way. You know, obviously, he's the reason I'm playing drums, as you know, throughout all these years. But you know, it's like the same thing with, like, you know, when I was in 3rd grade and I had a crush on my teacher. It's like I think a lot of that was like kind of like idolizing them in a way, and then not, you know, kind of confusing those feelings, like what's happening there, which you know is I don't know, I assume is normal with well, I don't know. I don't even know if that's normal, but
I mean, I totally have like in no way am I not straight. That's who I am. But I totally have girl crushes on like certain celebrities or like other people because
Someone's beautiful,
like
they're beautiful.
it's something in there that you're just like attracted to. It's not that I want to go like hang them, but I'm just something about them. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. It's real for me. It became immediate, like pretty obvious. I think around like 5th grade or so, it started turning into more like sexualized stuff, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not just like, oh, you're my favorite teacher, heart, I love you. That's it's like, no, okay, this is moving beyond that. So yeah, I mean, it sucks growing up feeling different, but I would not change any of that experience, because I feel like I wouldn't be the person that I am today without it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't have words for all of the feelings that I had for that moment in time, but I came out of it the other end, and I feel like I turned out okay. So yeah, that's pretty much my story, just kind of growing up, and I'm very thankful now. Like, I have a great life. Like, I have my amazing wife, Kate, and the most adorable, happy, healthy, such a cute little son. He's the best. He fills us both with so much joy. And I never in a million years would I, if you would have told myself, my like 17-year-old self, or my or any age before that, like, Heather, you're gonna have this great life where you're married and you have a house and a family, and everybody around you is loving and accepting, and it's not a thing at all. Like, I mean, the irony in the whole thing is that my mom made a big deal about like people mistreating me because I'm gay. That was a big thing. She's like, I don't want people to treat you differently. Honestly, she's one of the only people in my life, with the exception of the girl in high school that threatened to out me, but like, honestly, all, like, a majority, if not all, of my experiences from that point forward have been loving and accepting. And it's, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the irony is that my mom was worried about that, but yet she ended up being the only one that was treating me differently. So yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate now. So I feel like I've lived a very privileged life, even though I've had some hardship. But here I am, and I'm loving life now. So this is great.
Okay, so I want to ask you a few questions for people listening. One being, let's start with, if there are any parents out there who have gay children, what would be a way that they could love on their child in the time where their child is still figuring out who they themselves are?
So like the child hasn't come out to them yet, but they might suspect,
or maybe they just did come out, but they are unsure, like that initial, like either they haven't come out yet and they're afraid to, or they've just come out. Like, I have a friend who is pretty certain her daughter is gay and has tried to like give her the freedoms for that, so like, but like her daughter hasn't come to the place of saying it yet, or on the flip side, the daughter has and is still like working through it, and it like feels weird and like an outcast. Like, what would be advice that you give to parents of kids, of young gay kids?
Well, yeah, I think, like, first and foremost, like, if they haven't come out and you just, maybe you have some suspicion, or you might have an inkling or whatever, obviously don't like push them into coming out to you. That's their own process, and they'll do it when they're ready. That's assuming if they are gay. So, just kind of just create an environment where there's open-mindedness and they're aware of it. You have to vocalize that, like, that you love them unconditionally, no matter what. As long as that kind of language is there, then I feel like there would be the comfort of knowing that, like, if they were to come out, that there's not going to be a negative reaction to it. And maybe even kind of engage with them. Like, don't do like the thing where my mom was like, let's watch this movie. But if there happens to be
Please
a
don't.
TV show that comes on or something, and there's like a gay couple, you could just like make comments of like, oh, that's really sweet, or just comments of like acceptance and love, and just like treating them like, I mean, the thing that I love the most is like the neighborhood that I live in. Everybody treats us as if we're like a straight couple here. They don't really treat us any different. And I think that's kind of beautiful, because that's ultimately what we all want, is just to kind of be a part of a community, not feel like we're different or we're outsiders or whatever. And so, just trying, just like you would, I don't know, if there's some cute, touching, romantical moment in a straight movie or something, and if your normal reaction would be like, to get all like, I don't know, gushy about that, like, do the same thing for gay couples, or just make comments that like, oh, they're really cute together, just kind of little hints that like you're accepting and that you're open-minded about it, essentially. And then if they've already come out, obviously tell them that you love them no matter what, and you want them to be happy, and you support them, and you're there for them. Ask them if there's anything that they need from you as a parent. They might figure out something that would make them feel good, and kind of give them that opportunity to maybe offer up a suggestion or an idea for something. Maybe they just need a hug, or whatever it is. Like, just like, say you're there for them, and then ask them what they need. And then just, I guess, kind of generally, like, you can spend some time looking at resources online of, like PFLAG research. I mean, there's all sorts of resources for parents. It's parents of lesbian and gay, something like that. I don't remember the actual acronym. It was like 15 years ago when I was like researching this stuff. But you could pretty much just Google like I'm the parent of a gay kid, and tons of stuff will come up, and there's going to be more kind of official type stuff that you'll come across, and just try to just basically consume as much information about it as possible, and try to find the right language, try to find just read about other people's stories, and just try to get a good sense of like what scenarios or things that your kid might be going through that they may not necessarily feel comfortable talking to you about, but like you're at least aware of it, so that way you can kind of sense something, or even slowly but surely bring up stuff to talk about if they're comfortable with it. Like, so yeah, I guess just trying to inform yourself as much as possible, and I mean, above all, just love your kid no matter what. Like, they're deserving of love unconditionally. I feel like that's your one job as a parent, is to literally love your child unconditionally. So yeah, if you do that, like, it's all gonna be great. You just have to, be there and just love your kid. So that's pretty much, the only advice I can think of. But.
Okay, I have kind of a raw question. I was debating whether or not to ask it, but I'm going to. I don't know if I'd ask it if it wasn't you, but to the people who feel like being gay is in your head, or something that you're doing for attention, or something that you're making up, or you just haven't realized the truth yet, like all those people who think that being gay isn't real, or I'm not even 100% sure what their thought process is, but I know where I'm going. What would you say to them?
Well, that's interesting, because that's one of the things my dad said to me, and that's how I knew that he wasn't actually like a neutral party in the whole thing. Like, most of the time he would he just like didn't get involved in the discussions. And I would say this was before I met Kate. So this was at least 10 years ago. So yeah, I guess it was about 5 years after coming out. I don't remember what the context was or why the discussion about me being gay. I mean, it was always the elephant in the room. So the topic came up again, and he basically said something along the lines of like, he doesn't believe that you're born being gay. He thinks that it's a choice, and that, yeah, he thinks that I'm choosing to be gay, and that, in some ways, I guess that's, like, I think, I don't know, I can't speak for them, but maybe there was like some feeling on their side that I was like doing this out of rebellion or something. I don't know, like, which is weird because I was not a rebellious kid growing up. Like, I was very goody two shoes, get all the good grades, like don't get in trouble kind of thing. So maybe that's off base, but that was, his thought on that, because, in that moment I told him, like, yeah, for some people it may be a choice. There may be somebody out there that is straight and has been in straight relationships all the way up till whatever point in their life, and they are like, you know what, I'm gonna start dating women just because I want to see what it's like, or I want to try it, or whatever. Like, yes, in that case, it's a choice, but that's not everybody's situation. Like, for me, it was there before I even understood or had words for it, and like, whether I was born with it or not, who knows, right? Like, I don't, scientists don't even know this. So like, all I know is that, like, I didn't have words for it. I didn't even know it was a thing that existed. So like, how do you choose that? You know what I mean? For me, it feels like there was something there from the get-go that, like, I just really had no control over. So yeah, theoretically I could choose to be straight, or like, well, I don't think you can choose. I don't feel like I could choose to be straight, but I could choose to maybe not date women and be in relationships with men, and just kind of go through the motions with that, and just like ultimately know that that's not, like, I could basically live a lie, and do that and make that choice. So yeah, everything you do in life is a choice. But for people that say I've been this way for as long as I can remember, or since I was very young, if they say that I was born this way or whatever, like, just believe them, right? This is not like it's not like it's something you can prove, right? So you just have to, like, take someone at their word. And if you're a straight person who has no experience with anybody that's gay, or you've never had any gay tendencies or whatever yourself, and you're literally just making an opinion about something that you know nothing about, like, okay, like, just take that with a grain of salt, I guess. You can't really get caught up in what other people think. And that's kind of just the approach I've taken. Like, I'm not gonna argue with somebody who hasn't walked in my shoes, basically. So especially about, like, my life, right? So I would just say it's not worth having those fights. Now, if somebody's open to hearing somebody else's story, and like, maybe they came from that place of like, oh, I feel like it's a choice or whatever, and then they hear somebody's story and they're like, oh, well, actually, okay, I could see where maybe that's not the case, and they kind of accept that there could be varying, I think it's a spectrum, right? Every person's journey or like life is very different, and so for some people, that moment or whatever it is, that aha, like for me, I guess the aha thing was the Tattoo song or the music video. That, everybody has that moment, or that, or maybe it's like, I definitely had a lot of moments of thinking about it and like wondering and wondering and wondering, but like finally having like, oh, it's a word for it. Like, because from that point I went and like searched tattoo and then looked, and it was like lesbian. I was like, oh my gosh, like I literally didn't know the word. So yeah, it's just, I feel like it's just not worth the time and effort to like argue with people that just want to argue about that based on zero experience. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say to that.
Well, I think with all the conversations we've had in August, just about people who are different than Sierra and I, anybody that has like hate or aggression towards someone that's not exactly like them, and let's be honest, nobody's exactly like anybody, but that feels like there's like that much of a difference, it always comes from lack of understanding because they just don't get it. So people choose, oh, let me be open and try to understand this. And also there's no need to hate this person or be against this person as long as they're not literally like, you know, physically harming someone else. Yeah. But some people take that non-understanding and it just terrifies them and they go like that opposite direction, which is really hard to understand when you are an understanding person and you're like an open person. But yeah, like it always stems from, I don't think that these people really fully inside, like if you could peel away all the layers, feel that way, but there's so many layers and they're not willing, like they're too terrified to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that it's just because, you know, if a person feels that way, like they just haven't been exposed to, like, you know, if you are homophobic, I just always assumed, oh, because you didn't know anybody that was gay, so like you didn't have any kind of like frame or like context, you know, or like, you know, yeah, it's just something kind of different and unusual, and you're kind of like weary of it, and you're just like, it's, you know, maybe you have your own opinions about like, maybe you think it's gross or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I often think, oh, well, if they just met somebody that was gay and became friends with them, they'd be like, oh, they're just like any other person. Like they're not, or like my favorite is like the gay agenda. Like we have this grand scheme to like turn the world gay. I don't even know. When they say agenda, I'm not sure what that agenda is. Like, I didn't get the memo, but
I don't know. I would be down with the agenda.
So, you know, just the idea that like you haven't had an exposure to people that are different from you. But like in the case of my parents, you know, they've had, you know, at this point 15 years to kind of settle into it. They've had a lot of time to kind of deal with whatever feelings they have on it. And, you know, to this day, and I'll admit, I was nervous to do this podcast because, you know, my relationship with them is not great. We're just starting to kind of get back to the point where we're doing small talk, and you know, my worry is that they would find out about this podcast, and then, you know, I know that they would be upset because I literally am like airing out all their dirty laundry over the last, you know, 15 years, or, you know, like somewhere between 15 and 20 years. So that, you know, there's part of me that's like, oh, this could backfire on me. But I was, you know, I don't know, I guess I was hoping that like it would be kind of therapeutic for me, and then additionally, like if it could help somebody else like kind of figure something out, I think that I think that's more important at this point. And my parents, like I said, have had a lot of time to do the work, and they just haven't. So obviously they know somebody that's gay. So that theory of mine before of like, no, they just haven't had exposure, like, okay, maybe that's not necessarily right. Like, I think there are just some people that are so closed-minded, and they're just not going to, you know, they just can't get past whatever that mental block is. So, you know, for my parents, it was so many excuses. It was like, oh, you know, we want to have grandkids. Oh, we don't want you to be treated differently. You know, like the goalpost was always changing. Oh, we don't want, what was it? Yeah, grandkids. And then, oh man, I just had another one that I was going to say that was the most like recent. Oh, religion. That's what it was. I'm like, religion?
Your parents?
Like, yeah. The last time I talked.
Sorry.
Yeah. The last time
not
I stayed
funny, but it's a little funny.
The last time I stayed at my parents, over the holidays, this was like many, many years ago. This was right around the time that DOMA was going through the Supreme Court. And so Fox News, you know, they watch Fox News. So Fox News was on one morning, and they were interviewing this person about DOMA, and it was a person that was like pro gay marriage. And they obviously brought on somebody who's like, it was obvious that English wasn't their first language. So they were trying to find somebody that their viewers would automatically dismiss anyways, because they had a very heavy like Hispanic accent, and like, you know, we're talking about being pro marriage or whatever. And then like as soon as they interviewed that person, they basically started like reaming into, you know, why DOMA's bad and this and that, you know, basically just like down, like talking down the you know, the lawsuit that went through Supreme Court that made gay marriage legal across the United States. And so when that was happening, I was like obviously frustrated, because at this point I was engaged to my wife. And so I just like, I don't know, I made some sort of comment to them about like, you know, like essentially watching Fox News, like, you know, they're not gonna it's a very like one-sided discussion on the conversation. And then from there it was like, oh well, you know, everything has two, you know, like my dad's response was like, oh, everything has two sides to the story. And I'm like, okay, well, but like my side of the story is that like I'm gay, I'm getting married, like, you know, and he just kept going on about that. He's like, oh, well, whatever, like Heather, you know, I think he started getting more defensive about the, like, you know, me kind of like shooting down Fox News. And then when he kept saying, yeah, there's two sides to every story, I'm like, okay, well, what side of the story are you on? Like, and he just kind of stopped and was like, Heather, you know, I just don't support gay marriage because of the Bible. And I just like, that like really caught me off guard, because we were not a religious family. Like, we did not go to church. We didn't have a Bible in the house, as far as I know. Like, my parents were not religious. I mean, maybe my dad went to church when he was a little kid, like with his parents, but like my parents are not religious, and especially my mom. So I don't know. I just thought that was like a whole nother level of like denial, basically.
Yeah. That's like those layers. Is it's always some people. There's always going to be something. They're always going to find a new reason, and
yeah.
So I feel like for your parents, it's not even like, they probably aren't even voicing the real reason, which the real reason probably has more to do with they must feel like shame, like they raised you wrong or they failed somehow, you know, like they probably have this own stuff that they're working through, which isn't accurate, but they can't even voice it to figure out that it's not accurate, you know?
Yeah. My mom actually said that too. I remember there was another discussion. She was like, well, what did we do wrong? And you're like, what? You know, just, I mean, oh man, I feel like I could write a whole novel of like all the just
probably should
terrible, like, I don't know about that.
Well, I'm not, I didn't know where you were going with that. I thought you were going to say like a novel about the things that you overcame, but
yeah, I mean, just like all
not a novel about the terrible things.
Yeah, all of the like horrendous things that they've said to me over the years, and like, oof, yeah, there's, I mean,
just write them down and then burn them.
I worked through a lot of it in therapy, so you know, I would say in some cases I've been able to find ways to like forgive. You know, I'm certain there's still a lot that I have to work through, but it's some aspects of it that I've made peace with, basically. So yeah, I mean, but it's still there. It's still very raw. It's like, you know, some nights I'll get to thinking about it a lot, and you know, I'm just like in my own head, and I'll get like, you know, I'll start getting teary-eyed, and you know, because it is one of these things where I would love, because you know, Kate's parents are awesome. I have this great relationship with them. They're very active in James's life, and I like see that, and then every once in a while there would be like these moments where I get just like kind of sad because I don't really get to experience that on my side with my parents. So yeah, I mean, there's, you know, they feel like they probably had a big loss, you know, whatever idea they had of my life in their head, but like I also have had loss in this way. Like, yeah, I can't get that time back with James, and you know, that kind of hypothetical relationship, and like those moments that they could have been there for, and they certainly, you know, can't get them back. So it kind of breaks my heart because I always thought like, okay, my mom did say that really crappy thing about not accepting children, but like once the kid's there, like I feel like I was just kind of hoping that would change and that she'd reach out and want to like, would want to meet him. I mean, she did reach out about like my dad having COVID and stuff, and James obviously came up, and I like sent her a couple photos just to kind of like see what her reaction would be, and she was very nice about it, like, oh, he's cute, but it never really went beyond that. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's cute, he looks happy, or something like that. So but there's part of me that's like, man, I guess COVID is a big part of that. Maybe they don't, but they travel, they go to Montana and they go to Tennessee, and they, so they're not worried about COVID. They, I don't know, part of me just thinks like, guys, reach out and just like try to start a relationship. I'm there and open to it, but like we should probably work through. I just wish we could basically like forgive and forget everything and move forward, because that's ultimately what I would love. Like I can put aside all the crappy things, and I know, I've also have said hurtful things at the time because it was a very like vulnerable time for me, and I felt like I had to like kind of like shield myself, and so there were definitely moments that got really sticky there, and yeah, I mean, I would love to move past it, but again, I feel like they have to be the ones to kind of like reach out for that. So maybe, not that I want them to hear this podcast, but like maybe some word will get to them that like, yes, reach out to your daughter. So.
Okay, so I have one other question. This would be for anyone out there who knows they're gay but is terrified to say anything. What's the encouragement that you would give to them?
That's a hard one. You just have to kind of slowly but surely find like-minded people. I think that's really what helped me. Like when I went off to college, there was this other woman in one of the classes with me, and she was very like butch looking. So it was like kind of without a doubt, like I was like, she has to be gay. So like I started just talking to her, and then we kind of developed a friendship, and yeah, turns out she's gay. And then from there, she kind of like introduced me to a lot of her other lesbian friends, and then before I knew it, I was kind of involved in this like larger lesbian community within Orlando. So and that really kind of helped me kind of feel comfortable, and helped to kind of like figure out more about myself, and just being around people that are like you just kind of feels like a little bit like a safe space. So maybe you don't want to tell people that you're really close to, your friends and family, but perhaps, find groups either like online, or, if there's, I don't know, like meetups or even bars. I mean, if that's your kind of thing, you can go to a bar and try to meet people that, like a gay bar or a lesbian bar, and just try to seek out the community, and find friendships and allyships there, and that'll kind of help build that confidence over time. And then you just have to do it on your own time frame. Like there's no rush. You just have to make sure that you, first and foremost, like make sure you're in a good, like if you're young and you depend on your parents and your family, make sure you're and if you think that there could be any chance that it could go south, if you were to tell them, and like if they had a negative reaction, just make sure you're financially independent. That way, like if worst case scenario they kick you out, you would have the means to support yourself, or like or have some other kind of support network. Basically, don't be reckless about it. Like if you're young and there's no way that you can afford to like basically be on your own, then you should probably kind of wait to have that discussion. Like you can kind of go and still figure things out on your own, and still develop that community, but like, yeah, I wouldn't want to push anybody into like outing themselves before they're ready, and before like you know, if there's any risk that they would get kicked out of their house, like they need to be in a good place to like support themselves if that is the case. So that's just kind of like, you know, because that was like a terrifying thing for me at that time. Like I was right out of high school, like I was planning to go off to college, like how the heck was I gonna support myself? So yeah, I just say like find your people and just do it when you're ready, and there's no rush. Like, you know, there's never, like, it's never too late to come out, you know what I mean? Like, you can wait however long, take your time. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, well, thank you for being so vulnerable. I really appreciate how much you're willing to share, even
problem.
with the risk of your parents hearing it.
Yeah.
I have this idea that your mom would never listen to a podcast. She'd be like,
Yeah.
what is it? Hopefully, we'll hope for that.
I have no idea, to be honest, but you know, it's the idea that like I don't think my brother would share this, but like who knows? You know, it's one of those things that like somehow certain information gets back to her, and I'm just like, who the heck told her?
Yeah.
You know?
How does she know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hope that if she does hear this, well, I don't hope that she hears this, but if she does end up hearing this, I would hope that she knows that I love her, and I do, like, I would love to have a relationship with her if, you know, if we could get it to a point where it's civil and there's mutual respect. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I stand, especially, you know, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that, like, life is too short. So, yeah, I would welcome a cordial relationship with my parents at this point in life. So I can hope that happens kind of organically on its own, and hopefully not through this podcast, but you know, kind of taking it slowly.
Amanda had said seen, heard, and respected, right? I think that's what they said.
I think so. Yeah.
Like the that's all human, no matter who, what they are.
Yeah.
And serve it.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I have just a tiny soapbox this podcast episode, I would say to anyone who could possibly still be listening that thinks it's a choice, why would someone ever choose this heartache that you have experienced? Why would anybody choose that? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me in any way, shape, or form. So
yeah, definitely would have been easier to be straight, for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, that's
not the hand that was beautiful story. And what'd you say, Jess?
I was gonna say something that comes up is something that we've said a lot just in general is like, and bear with me because it might sound weird at first, but like, you're not special in the sense that like we all go through struggles. Like that's the beauty. That's what we talk about on this podcast all the time is like, we all have these things. You have this huge thing that happens to be very different. And so many people, unfortunately, don't even want to try to understand it. But like, just like you said, you've been through it and it's made you who you are, and you are an amazing human being. And you, like your life.
Yeah, they losing your feed.
Did you lose me?
Yeah.
A little bit. So you were kind of cutting in and out a little bit.
We got the first half, and then all of a sudden we lost you for the inspo. Oh, we lost her for good.
Oh no. I'll have to edit it so that
we are.
Nope. Can you turn off your Wi-Fi?
Or maybe just turn off your video. Oh, bummer.
Dang it.
We were like so close here.
I know. Well, at least she's got the mic, so we can still put it in the episode.
Yeah.
We can hear her encouragement. We need to respond. Yeah, Jess, that's awesome.
Yeah, totally. For sure. The magic of editing.
We don't see you.
Yeah, I think she dropped off. And it's just I mean, at least she didn't like freeze in an awkward place with her face. Like it could be way worse.
I feel like she could still hear us. Jessica, if you're there, give us a sign. Are you with us? All right. Well, I will just move on then. Maybe hers will catch back up, or I guess we could always end this and come back. No, because she's really not coming back. All right, let's end this call here, and then we'll call right back. But don't stop your recording.
Okay.
Just keep recording, and we'll just call right back.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay.
Also, Jess, you're not central in the square.
Again, I haven't changed one thing.
Oh, well, I didn't have you in the square before. I had it in the square, but okay. Anyway, sorry. What were you saying? Go.
I was just saying that, like, you know, her human experience, just like all of us, like we all go through our struggles and makes us who we are. And when we like are happy in ourselves and our life and like the cool things are going on, like, I don't know. I said it better before. Now my brain is done.
That's okay, because you can use that audio.
I know I can.
Heather and I said, ooh, great.
Yeah, totally.
You both look like stinky bananas. You would have said, I don't know. I was trying to think of anything. It is
well, since I think this whole episode was a very raw moment, so we won't have to do that specifically. So Jess, can you lighten the mood with your lightning round? You like what I did there?
Okay, first lightning round question. Favorite food that uses a banana?
Favorite food that uses a banana? Ooh, I really like bananas Foster's, like the dessert.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a big like banana dessert person. Huh?
That is a great question.
Laughing at my question. I was like, see, it was a great question. Okay.
That's a hilarious question.
Who was your favorite band in the 90s when we grew up?
Oh, easy. Hanson. Yeah.
Hands down. I can answer these questions for her.
Okay. My third one then is, what's your favorite concert you've ever been to?
Ooh.
Oh, I bet I can. No.
That's interesting. Wow.
It's a lightning round, Heather.
Probably, yeah, sorry. I guess I need to get that. Shoot. Actually, it was a 311 concert that I went to with Kate. It was like I think it was the first concert we went to. And she taught me, you guys aren't going to believe this, she taught me how to crowd surf.
I love that. That's the cutest thing.
She was like, apparently, I mean, she was like obsessed with 311 all through high school. And so she would go to 311 concerts and then like have, I don't know, some people around her pick her up, and then like she would just like toast across the crowd. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I kind of want to do it again. And I was like, okay. And so she like talked about how it works and whatever. And so she got up and did it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to like do it as well so that I could meet up with her, because they kind of like move you to the front of the crowd and then you get out, around the front and then come back along the side. But yeah, that was a very interesting experience. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like everybody touching your butt and everything as you go along, but like I did it. I can say I did it.
Cool. I think I did it one time. That's funny. Okay. The last two questions. Sarah.
It's so good.
You can't start laughing because then I won't stop. Okay. These last two questions are two that we ask everybody because they're really important questions. The first one is, we're huge supporters of small businesses. So what is your favorite small business?
Ooh. I'm trying to think about like a local place here. It's been hard because of the pandemic, but because like we haven't been going anywhere. But I really like well, okay, so there's this place in Rockville called it's Pike and Rose is the shopping complex, but there's this little it's almost like a food court, but it's like it's like hip and cool,
Yeah.
not like a like mall food court. And they have these little like little restaurants in there that you can kind of go to. And there's a lot of these so the food court is called The Block. And there's a bunch of little like Korean restaurants, and you can get bubble tea, and then there's like really good dessert place where they sell like, I don't know, these like crazy desserts that are like little thin crepes like rolled in the like most delicious fluffy cream.
I like
right
it.
now I'm trying to remember the name of it, which sucks because it's like you're just like inundated with all the signs. But basically it's The Block. Like the business. I think the business owns
Maryland.
Yeah. The Block. It's in Pike
and Rose. And go to The Block.
Yeah. For sure.
I will when I come up.
Yeah, you gotta try they got like little matcha towel roll cakes. I think they're called towel roll cakes. So good. Yeah. If you come out to visit, I'm taking you guys there.
Jess, before you do the final question, can we add the strength question in here?
Oh yeah, go. You want me to ask?
Yeah.
Okay, Heather, what does strength mean to you?
Strength, for me, it's a couple of things. I would say, like, first and foremost, it's resiliency. Just like, like you said, everybody goes through really difficult periods in life. It's how you kind of come out of that, and how you kind of bounce back from those challenges in life. And just like, and particularly if you can do it while maintaining a positive outlook, and just, not trying, like, basically don't be angry with the world and feel like, maybe the world owes you something because of the like hardship or whatever. So yeah, just being resilient and kind of learning from that process, and that like, not only the difficult time, but the healing from it as well. So I would say that's like the biggest thing that strength means for me. Also loving and like accepting yourself, and then I would add just like having healthy boundaries, whether it be a toxic parent or a toxic relationship, or maybe a coworker that's kind of constantly pushing boundaries or like making you uncomfortable, like whatever it is, just having the courage to kind of set the boundaries and stick to them. It's hard. All of those things I named are difficult. Like, it's really hard to like bounce back from something and have a positive outlook. It's hard to love yourself and accept yourself when, like, sometimes, we all go through moments of like, I don't know, feeling really crappy about ourselves. And then, the boundary thing is really difficult. Like, you can sit there and think in your head all day, like, oh, okay, well, the next time this happens, I'm going to do this. But like actually doing it and sticking to it, that's the really hard part. So yeah, that's what I would define strength by, kind of those three characteristics.
Agreed. And then the real last question, which is perfect, is what is your favorite thing about you?
Probably just the fact that I'm like spontaneous. I feel like that's, I don't know, that just ends up bringing some of the most enjoyable moments in my life, when I'm willing to just like on a whim decide to do something crazy, like crowd surfing or whatever it is. Just kind of being open-minded and just willing to like, yeah, give it a go right there in that moment and not like think too much about it.
I love that about you too, because that brings up memories of Sierra's bachelorette party. And it was and we had a very spontaneous Heather that night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good word to put. Yep.
A very spontaneous Heather. That's what
Yes.
we'll call her.
I do. I still remember Heather grabbing up a plant out of its planter at some point in the night.
And bringing it back to the hotel room and then putting it in the sink and giving it water. And then Sierra later goes and plants that plant in her apartment complex garden.
You did?
Yeah, and they
I
ripped it
didn't
out.
know that. Oh.
I know.
Apparently they didn't want a succulent in their garden.
This is a succulent-free zone.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
That was.
And it had to be spontaneous, right? Based on the the activities that were there. It was just kind of like the whole point of that evening was just like these spontaneous moments. So I don't know how much of the other, like the ripping the plant out of the ground was more just like being
just late
intoxicated.
Night drinks, yeah.
But we'll go with spontaneous. That was spontaneous Heather, not drunk Heather.
Well, that is all we've got for you, Heather. Thank you for spending so much of your time with us. I really appreciate it.
No problem. This was fun. I mean, obviously, talking about the hard stuff was, it was raw, right? That's like the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
But at the end of this, the kind of like being able to catch up with both of you and see your smiling faces and giggle and laugh, it's like, good for my soul. So I appreciate that.
Ours too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But can't wait to see you both in person sometime, hopefully soon.
Do you mind if we do our closing real quick?
Yeah.
Just so we have it all in one. Okay. Well, thank you, Heather, and thank you to everyone who is listening. We invite you to rate, review, subscribe to our show. It's super easy. If you're on Apple, just scroll all the way to the bottom and hit that 5 stars. If you're on Spotify, I'll tell you next week because I don't know. But give us a rating because that tells the podcast platforms that we're doing something good and they will continue to share our podcast and help it grow. And you can also follow along with our fun, crazy antics on Instagram at inrawlife.co.
And if you would like to be a part of one of our episodes, not quite like Heather was, but you can tell what strength means to you, and you just might be featured at the beginning of one of our. Until next week, again, I just hope that you are listening to these conversations with compassion and an open heart and an open mind, open eyes, and remember that we're all human beings and we all have these beautiful stories that deserve to be heard and deserve to be respected. And if we show up with love, then that's all we need. Bye.
All right.
Yay.
And then you can stop the recording and I will send you the email address that you can send it to.